All right, welcome again, everybody. This is Fred Feeney with Matside, better known as Ref Man. We're here at the state before the finals of the state tournament with Dr. Bruce Maurer. Good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you.
How's everything?
Good.
Great.
Fred and I go back a long way. Wrestling, football.
We've
and
had
he-
some good times.
And he's done a great job helping with many aspects of youth sports and high school sports in the state of Ohio. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate that.
Sure.
So you run this entire thing. So I got to ask, how many tournaments have you done here?
This is number 45.
45 out of 88.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, this is the 88th third for the girls.
Right.
So got a couple questions for you. Now, I've been asked to evaluate officials at 5 different state tournaments. And I got to tell you, of all those, California, Nevada, Texas, a bunch of them, nobody compares to this.
Sure.
This is outstanding.
Yeah, in fact, no disrespect, but one year when I ran the Big Ten tournament that year, I thought, to be honest with you, that the officiating in our state high school tournament the following weekend was better than what I saw at the Big Ten tournament.
The one at Ohio State, I remember I was there. I was the first time I was made the weigh-in official for that tournament.
Oh.
That was quite a time. But yes, I pretty much agree with you.
I think the key thing there in Ohio was very bold. OHSAA was very bold in that they started a director of development program for all the officiated sports. And I don't know how many states currently do it, but we have a expert in each of these officiated sports: track, swimming, football, basketball, wrestling, etc. And so you have a source to do that. So rather than someone at the high school association office having to think about that, you've got a person that's paid consultant, so to speak, with OHSAA, obviously part-time, that one of their jobs is to handle that particular sport. So the officials have a great mentor and a person they can come to to get the proper answer.
What the audience out here may not know is Dr. Maurer came out with the infamous Gold Book.
Mm-hmm.
And the Gold Book is, there's one way, one mechanic for anything that could happen in football. This is how we want it done. And I can remember doing playoff football games where I may have somebody southeast, southwest, northeast, northwest that didn't do the stuff that we did in the central. And Bruce changed that by the Gold Book. And I remember when you came into our meeting out of West Jefferson, and first thing you said was, this is how it is. If you don't like it, you can leave now.
Right.
And people, some got up and left, which they didn't deserve to be there anyway. But that book changed how football is done. And now when you go to the state tournaments and playoffs, it's done the same way every time by the same position, every time, every game.
Yes, I think the key thing is, from an official standpoint, is an official is going to be evaluated, observed, whatever. My feeling is that everything you're going to discuss is written down. How can you hold someone responsible for this particular mechanic, this particular signal, if it's not written down? Where again, we're consistent. And what are we consistent? Because of the Gold Book, and it's there in writing.
Now, if you ask what background this man has in football, he was an NFL official, people. NFL.
Yes.
How long were you there at the NFL?
15 years.
15 years, my goodness. So all that experience comes down and makes everybody else rise up. So that's
I have these
fantastic.
cauliflower ears, Fred, from you yelling at me all the time on Sunday afternoon.
I would never ever do that.
Oh,
All right.
Right.
Got a couple questions for you. So what's the biggest challenge that you have putting a tournament like this together? One that stands out.
It's just basically, it's all the moving parts, because it's a huge undertaking for the Schottenstein Center and their staff, because during the course of the year, this is the only time we do it. So everything at this tournament is totally different, because unlike, basketball game after basketball game, or hockey game after hockey game, or concerts to probably a limited extent. And so from the standpoint of our staff, the other significant challenge this year from the Schottenstein Center staff is that we had a basketball game in here Tuesday night, 9 o'clock start, that went double overtime.
Isn't that amazing?
And so we had one of the groups that does the conversions. They came in at 2 o'clock in the morning and worked 10, 12-hour day in order to be able to get it ready. Yeah, as such. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Sure.
So another question is, do you think that you'll ever separate the girls and boys tournaments? Or will you add an extra day, do you think?
I have no idea. It's probably, I know from OHSAA telling us that there are 500 more girls wrestling this year than last year. And so, and as you know, probably, you've got other sports. Track, for example, currently has 3 divisions, and beginning 2026, they're going to go to 5 divisions. And you probably know a lot of the team sports, there were originally 4 divisions. They are now 7 divisions. Yep. And so that's kind of the mode to move in that direction. So,
decisions are made
yeah,
at the higher level of OHSAA.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I would think, based upon, the current direction, that, yeah, you could foreseeably see a second division, or break it down, girls division 1, girls division 2 at some point in the future.
I can see that because it's all one now.
Well, yeah, we have 3 divisions for boys,
Right.
1 division for girls. But I think what's really important, when we sat down and spent well over 200 hours when we merged the 2 tournaments together, we looked at them as wrestlers. We did not look at them as boys and girls, because everything that we do, as far as we know, and we finally got all the banners changed around this year as well. We basically have 1 tournament with 4 divisions, and we have boys and girls wrestling in those various divisions.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Of all your years here, do you have one memorable moment?
Yeah, this goes back a few years. We had a tremendous match. Championship went down to the wire, 10 seconds to go, and one of our scores and timers went out to tap the referee at the end of the period, the end of the 3rd period, and actually accidentally stepped on the clock and pulled the clock out, and no one knew how much time was left on the scoreboard. So, God rest his soul. He never ever lived that down. The other one, 2 other memorable moments, was my very first year as assistant at St. John Arena, is when Zimmer won his first.
Yep, Mark.
And I worked at Ohio State for 40 years, was in the St. John Arena a lot. And I've never, ever, even for a Big Ten championship basketball game with Indiana, Ohio State, I've never seen the arena as loud or the applause as long when Zimmer broke history and became our first ever 4-time state champion.
And Mark Zimmer, homage, the purple socks of your sales. So,
yeah. As the third one I'll give you is, this is the dual team state championship at St. John, and they put it in where a school could move up categories.
Right.
So one year when Graham with, Jim Jordan had one of those, or Jeff Jordan had one of those incredible teams, he went up to D1.
Yes.
And he went nose to nose with St. Ed.
Right.
And it came down to the heavyweight match. But during the competition, Jeff was always so sedate, sitting in his chair, never getting up. And he was literally standing on top of the chair, leaning over. He was so excited during that particular dual match. And I went up to him during that game. Jeff, you look like you're 20 years younger. Yeah.
And I think they beat St. Ed's that year.
They did. Yeah, they won the heavyweight and beat them. Yeah.
I was lucky enough to have the duel with St. Ed's and Graham the year of the first division team duels.
Sure.
And the state duels, and Graham moved up, and I had that duel up at St. Ed's.
Sure.
Came down to the last call, made a stalling call, took it to overtime, and Graham won.
Did it?
So it was fantastic. A couple more. So what strategies, Bruce, do you use to make sure that every T is crossed, every I is dotted in this whole 4-day event?
Biggest thing I think is, I kind of old school, so I have a notebook that's about this thick, and there's 28 different categories in that notebook. And so what I do every year, I literally go through every piece of paper in there to update and to look at things. The other thing we do is we've already made 30 recommendations for things for next year. So we document those during the tournament and follow through to make sure all those are then implemented the following year.
So with modern technology, do you ever see the day coming where you're going to have video review here?
I don't know. It could be very complex when you're dealing with 4, 8, 10 match. I mean, we have video review for the state high school football championships, but only for the 7 championship games. So it might happen, but I'll be surprised if it does happen, just because the level of complexity. As you know, all of our 1,600 plus matches are streamed on the Federation Network, so obviously the video is available, for that.
I know I was a NCAA reviewer for video back some years ago, and
Sure.
it's there. The technology is there. Now the NCAAs, they're way up there and they're viewing it in a room and they come down with the decision.
Right. Yeah, and I've watched, probably like you, dual meets all year in the Big Ten, and it's routine at every one of those dual meets, they do a review as needed. And there's a significant number of reviews they'll do during a dual meet.
But it gets one brick, and if you lose it, you lose it.
Is that
Yeah, you get one.
Oh,
If you win the review, you keep that,
gotcha.
and you get to do another one and another one. It's like that. So the last question is, if I can read this here. Any long-term goals for the state tournament for you? If you could change one thing and add something, what would it be?
Yeah, if you want to go big, it's not going to happen in the near future. Is if Cleveland Browns were to build that dome. Give you an idea, Michigan, much smaller state than we are in terms. They have 5 divisions, 4 for boys, 1 for girls, and they have same number of wrestlers per division, 224, and they wrestle that tournament in 2 days on 25 mats.
Yeah.
All the seating is general admission because you got 70, 80,000 seats in there, and so it gives you that ability to bring everybody together. And media could then be on the floor. You'd have much more space, obviously, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be an ideal world. You would have a dome, and they're very easily then adding 2 divisions for girls, and they have 25 mats laid down on the turf.
I was fortunate enough to be able to go up there and evaluate theirs and pick those state officials. And to have that many mats it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And 2 days, they're done.
Yeah, and from a standpoint of they had those incredibly giant jumbo screens.
Right.
And so from the standpoint of, information on there regarding who's wrestling when, live scoring, all those types of things, obviously they can do that because of the nature of the facility.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
The cool thing I saw yesterday was that thing coming all the way down, and oh my goodness. And then somebody got up in there to fix something.
Yep.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Dr. Maurer, thank you very much.
Good.
Appreciate it.
You too.
Great job again.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Good.